Welcome to Marketing Without the Marketing. I'm your host, Michael Bosey. Happy you can join me today. Now, COVID-19 has forced us to get a lot more serious about our online presence just because, we're not really able to gather in person as easily. So we have to focus on creating new opportunities in the digital realm, right? This is our chance to sort of rewrite the rules, if you will, because, look, this is not going to change anytime soon, so we have to adapt. And I've been working on a couple different projects that really do steer into this, where it's like, listen, we really got to take the analog and move it to digital. It's necessary to survive as a business, but also, if you think about it, if this lasts for a long time, where we're going to be limited in our ability to meet up, we got to try to rewrite the rules. So I want to focus on one strategy in particular that I've been using with writers, just because I find this to be really an interesting strategy for sort of mimicking author readings and book groups as a way to promote your book. And as we know, this is really, really hard to do when you create something, be it a book, an album, visual art, jewelry, pottery, whatever it is that you do. It's very, very hard to sell this stuff online just because you're competing against so many other artists. So I want to kick off a little series about using a podcast as a strategy to do this. Now, before you sort of think, oh my goodness, there's no way that I could do this, this strategy is really tailored towards folks who have never worked with audio before. I've trained people how to do podcasts who are complete novices with audio. But the idea here, in short, is to form sort of a virtual book group, if you will, around your book or your series, where you foster the chance to get together, talk about the book and its themes. And look, this strategy would be awesome even if it wasn't your book. But the idea here is that we want to create opportunities to be able to gather people and start a discussion, start a community, all centered around what you're writing about. This could be nonfiction or it could be fiction as well. I also like to think of this strategy as sort of a rolling book tour, right? It's a chance to get in front of people as you would in a bookstore event or a library event where you gather a bunch of people in the room, do a reading from the book, and then, again, take questions or spur a discussion. Again, also, especially now during COVID, this is really, really we got to come up with other ways to do this, and this might be a strategy to do that. And lastly, the other goal of this, and it's sort of a nice feature if we plan this up front and do this with sort of a clever intention, is we can also, at the same time we're producing a podcast, create an audiobook, right? So it's kind of a two-bird strategy. And hey, look, you might even be able to sell the audio rights to your book. If you're going to do readings from it anyway, we may as well create something else. As you know, if you've been following this podcast, repurposing content is a core strategy that I endorse and support and train people on. Because producing content is tough at the level and at the frequency that we need to do it. So we may as well get more than one use out of content. And this strategy has that as well. So this episode will kick off a series on this where I'll talk about how to actually do this, how to, do the writing of episodes and recording, the things that you need, a website, an audio host, how to do a launch and promotion, and then how to do this strategy of creating the audiobook at the same time. And I hope that this will be helpful to authors and other writers. Now, you might be thinking, wait, hold on a second. Why a podcast, though? Especially if you're a writer, right? You're used to writing, you're used to the written word, you're used to maybe blogging. But I want to give you a few reasons why this might be kind of a cool strategy to try. First of all, one of the things that I like most about podcasting is that It fosters really intimate connections with your listeners, right? You're quite literally inside their head in the form of earbuds. So they hear your voice, its inflection, your pauses. They can hear if you're excited about something, if you're angry about something. All of that stuff comes through in your voice more so than it does, quote unquote, on the page. Really, really like that about this medium in particular. Number two, this is a great opportunity for storytelling, right? If your book sounds good, read aloud, this will be a huge benefit for you and your book. Another thing is that you can get help from one of the largest companies in the world, that's Apple, right? If you launch it properly. And this is very, very different from a blog, and I need to go into more detail on that. I won't do that this episode. I'll handle that in a future episode in this series. The other thing, though, this strategy is still not oversaturated like blogging and social, though there are millions of podcasts out there. This is still a space that has some blue sky in it, which is kind of nice. And lastly, most publishers won't care about you creating duplicate content, if you will. Like one strategy that I use with writers is to blog your first draft, or at least a portion of that, so that you're building an audience at the same time. And this, you're not really doing that because you're switching formats. And most publishers, if you're trying to sell the rights to your book, get a contract, most of them want exclusivity on the content itself, right? That makes sense. So they don't want to see it on a blog. And this sort of solves that problem, which is kind of nice. Now, these are all reasons that I like this strategy, but I'm not going to go further justifying this. It's going to work for some people and it won't work for others, right? I'm just putting this out there as something that you could do that's, hey, maybe a little different from what you've seen other authors do. And number two, it kind of adapts to our current moment where we can't gather in groups for author readings, book clubs, and other, publishing related events. So that's the idea behind this. And I'll leave it there because, I said in this new format that I'll consider it a failure if my episodes are over 10 minutes. And I want to hold to that. All right, I'll continue with the series, but I hope it'll give you something to think about as far as a new strategy in our new world. All right, I look forward to continuing with this, and I'll see you in the next episode.